I personally don't like sour candy very much because I don't like sour things very much. Tootsie Rolls, no. Tootsie Rolls are just like I don't know what's up with Tootsie Rolls. They're cheap, I guess.
They aren't particularly good.
Yeah, they're not good. Fun fact, Tootsie Rolls were first made in 1907. They're like, well, they're pretty old, you know.
Yeah, they are just a bit older than Trump. Just a bit. Their shelf life is 2 years. So, like, you can give them next Halloween for trick or treating to all the kids who come to your house.
I like chocolate. Personally, I like chocolate.
Chocolate is okay. Dark chocolate is the best,
I just like
you know?
chocolate in general. I don't like light chocolate very much, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite candy, but it's good enough, you know?
Good enough?
It it's sweet and that's what matters, you know?
you wait. You could just eat sugar then.
I do sometimes, you know? Just sometimes. Yeah. Okay.
I think I had Whoppers once or twice. I don't remember what they taste like either.
Aren't Whoppers the ones that are like chocolate covered something?
I
Like,
remember they're
not.
colorful, and I whenever I look at the bag, I think of like if you push it down, like if you push the bag out like that, all the balls will shoot out, and then you can shoot them at people.
Nice to know that that's what you cared about when you were a little kid, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I noticed that too, but only because it was falling out because I was great at opening things.
yeah.
The best. Okay. So, what are some of the best Halloween decorations in your neighborhood?
Nothing. No one in your neighborhood is decorating too many inflatables. Huh.
I mean, there's one person in my neighborhood who has like a graveyard. It looks like the front, like
Yeah.
the front of the house. So, yeah.
I know there's like a house in my neighborhood who that has like a little graveyard thing. Um, there's some other houses with like, oh, there was this one house where they like, I don't think it was actually a pit, but they covered up the ground so it looked like a pit. And then they put like little zombie hands and they were like put paint over it to like beware or like danger or something. And
Uh,
then they had some inflatables too. So
I feel like everybody in my neighborhood has reused theirs since at least 2015, like the decorations, because I've seen them every single year. Consider them good anymore, but they're okay, you know? Just, you know,
yeah.
originality at 10. Are any of you guys going trick or treating?
I'm eating the candy that I'm supposed to hand out. Does that count?
Close enough. You're getting candy on Halloween, trick or treating, you know? 'Cause, I mean, candy isn't particularly great for breakfast, you know? Kinda not the best, you know?
It's yummy though. Halloween is like the
Yes.
one time of year I actually let myself eat candy because other times of the year I'm like, don't touch it. And but then Halloween is like we can go all out.
Ah, I mean,
I mean,
on Halloween,
it's not that I don't eat candy other times of the year. It's just I eat like less.
my parents don't buy candy any other time, and
Well,
like, you know,
me
yeah,
neither.
right. So that's why
Yeah.
I have like, you know, a candy binge, kinda. But yeah. Um,
The best depression snack are are
water.
cooked
Water is a
peanuts.
great.
Pistachios, Snickers, and Kit Kats. Yeah, water is
Stay hydrated,
important.
drink water.
It's
You know?
important, especially when you're riding the bus home.
Yeah. Also, to answer the question in the chat, yes, these are Maleficent horns. I'm going trick-or-treating, like, after this, like, right after. So, yeah.
Somehow
I'll-
I expected the horns to be a little bigger.
I
Like,
mean,
I
I
thought they
made
would be
them.
like
So.
that, because then they would look cooler.
I mean, I have, like, a hood kind of thing for this cape thingy, and they wouldn't exactly, like, fit over a really big thing, right? You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You could just, like, partially wear your hood then. Like,
I mean,
wear it like this.
right, right. I mean, I'm only thinking of wearing it if, like, it's raining, which I don't think it will. But,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, yeah. I am, yeah, yeah. I hope. Oof. Wait, your teacher's dressed up? Okay. Wait, who was your teacher supposed to be? In the chat. Oh, it's that. I mean, Cruella is easy to dress up for, presumably, because like distinctive hair. You know?
Okay. I think we can get started now. I'm already presenting my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So today, as you can probably tell from the screen, we're going to be doing linear equations and just, equations in general. And it's going to be Halloween themed. And credit to Kyung for the slides. Even though she's not here teaching with us today, she made this, well, like with our class at least, Kyung made the slides, so she's kind of here, Okay, so here is our agenda. So we're going to be doing some coordinate plane, then we're going to be learning about functions, linear equations, some practice problems, a fun activity, and of course you have homework, but we can get to that later. So first we're going to go over our homework review. Okay, let me put the link in the chat. Here we go. Okay, so on the homework, there was one question where there wasn't a correct answer, so everyone got the point for that. Well, everyone who did the homework got the point for that. And the last question was a joke question to conclude our circles unit kind of thing, so everyone got the point for that too, even if you got it wrong. So we're going to be just going over some of the questions that were missed. So first question, what's the length of the line segment labeled X? So this thing right here. So for this one, we would use power of a point. So for this one, we would do the short length times the long length, which is x plus 2, equals the other short length, which is 6, times the long length, 6 times 8, which is 14. So then we divide both sides by 2 to get rid of this 2 and move it to the other side. So 6 times 14 divided by 2 is 42, and that equals x plus 2. So that means x equals 40. Are there any questions on this first one? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so next question. If trapezoid ABCD is inscribed in a circle and side AD is parallel to side BC, find the degree measure of angle W. It said the diagram is not drawn to scale. So we know that inscribed quadrilaterals, opposite angles sum to 180 degrees. So that means that angle C is 180 minus 102 degrees or 78 degrees, right? And then we also know, and then for angle W, and angle, sorry, Sorry, I just blanked out. Okay, so a trapezoid ABCD is inscribed in a circle and side AD is parallel to BC. So means that sorry. Okay, my computer's acting up. It's like not letting me edit.
I can see the edits.
Okay. Find the degree measure of angle W. Okay. It's not letting me edit anymore. I think
Oh.
it's a me problem. Because
Huh.
my browser is freezing up.
Oh. Oh,
Okay.
I see something purple now. Do you want me to?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So trapezoid ABCD side AD is parallel to BC. So let's just extend it, right? If we extend it, we'll see that it's two parallel lines. And I'm pretty sure we learned about this previously, but these two parallel lines have a line crossing them called whoa, that's not a straight line, called a transversal, which is supposed to be that line right there. So we know this angle C is 78 degrees because the opposite angles of an inscribed quadrilateral have to add up to 180 degrees. And because these two lines are parallel, angle W and angle C, so this angle and this angle, these are same side interior angles. You guys have probably forgotten what that word means, but these two angles will add up to 180 degrees because of this transversal. So angle W plus the 78-degree angle equals 180 degrees, which means that W must equal 102 degrees, which also happens to be the same angle measured as angle A. Are there any questions?
Okay, I restarted my browser, so it's working now.
Okay.
Okay, so a circle, if the circle has a diameter of 10, solve for x. So we know that this is a diameter because it passes through the center and it intersects the, it ends at the, on the circle, right? So that means that this is 10, right? And because we know this is 10, that means that this length is 5, the radius is 5, right? But that isn't really relevant to us right now. So we know that when we have a triangle in a circle that has its angle on the circle and it has one side as the diameter, it means that that angle that is on the circle is 90 degrees. So that means that this angle is 90 degrees. So now we know that we must, like, in some way use Pythagorean theorem because we have to find a leg given the hypotenuse and given some other measurements, right? So we can use power of points. So we know that 4 times 3 is equal to 4 times 3 is equal to 2 times, and then let's just name this x, right? Is equal to 2 times x, right? So that means that 12 is equal to 2x, meaning that 6 is equal to x, right? So that means that this leg that is 2 plus x, so this leg, okay, let me do that in a different color. That this yellow leg is equal to 6 plus 2, right? So that means that this is 8. And using Pythagorean theorem, we can do 10 squared, okay, wait, 10 squared minus, and then we do 8 squared is equal to y squared, right? So we do 100 minus 64, and we get 36 is equal to y squared, and that means that y is equal to 6. So that means we get D as our answer. So yeah. Are there any questions? If not, wait. Okay.
Oh, was I not sharing my screen to the Jamboard?
No, you were just showing the
Shoot.
slides.
I thought it was sharing. Okay. Sorry. Okay. That's all right. Okay, we're going back to the slides now. Okay. So our first topic for today is the coordinate plane. So do you guys know what a coordinate plane is? In the chat. I hope you do. Okay, so a coordinate plane is two-dimensional and it has a vertical line called a y-axis and a horizontal line which is called the x-axis. And you can graph points on the coordinate plane where the x-axis is going to represent like left and right and the y-axis is going to represent like up and down. So the point 0, 0 is called the origin. And for x coordinates, if it's negative, it's left of the origin. And if it's positive, then it's right of the origin. And so, for example, negative 2, 0 would be here, and it would be to the left of the origin. And 3, 0 would be over here. For y coordinates, if it's negative, then it's below the origin. And if it's positive, then it's above the origin. So, for example, 0, 1 would be here, and 0, negative 4 would be here. So far, so good? Okay. So first for this one, we're going to do 3 little problems with this little candy corn here. So first, what are the coordinate points of the vertices of this candy corn triangle? Just put this in the chat. Okay, so this vertex has coordinates 0, 0. Whoa, that's a weird 0. Here, 0, 0. This vertex has coordinates of 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. And this one up here has coordinates of 0, 3. Okay, now find its side lengths using those coordinates. And by the way, this is a little bit easier. We're starting off a little bit easier right now. There will be some harder things in the next few slides. Okay, so this side would have side length 4 because it's 4 units down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This side here would have side length 3 because it's 4 units up. 1, 2, 3. And this third side length here, you just use Pythagorean Theorem. Since this is a right triangle, if you know your Pythagorean triples, then you'll just immediately know that this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. If you don't know your Pythagorean triples, that's okay. You can just use the Pythagorean theorem. So 3 squared plus 4 squared equals the third side length squared. So c squared equals 25. So the third side length is 5. Okay, finally find the area of this little candy corn. Yeah, it would be 6 because since you have a side length of 3 and a side length of 4, then the area of the triangle is just the base times the height and then divide by 2. So 12 divided by 2 would be 6. And that would be the area of this little candy corn. So hopefully this was mostly a review so far. Now here's one question. Find the area of a pumpkin pie, which assume this is a circle, whose radius starts at the point 2, negative 3 and ends at the point 2, 5. So this question, we would need to find the length of the radius first. So notice that the x coordinates are the same, which means that essentially this is like along a line, right? So if we graph it, it'll probably look something like this. So 1, 2, and then there would be a point -3 down here and a point at 5 up here. So the difference in this would have length 8, which means that the radius has a length 8, and the circle might look like this. So since the radius is 8, we can now just find the area by doing radius squared times pi. So the radius squared is 64, and then times pi. So the area of the circle would be 64 pi units squared. Okay. Okay, here's a more difficult question. A parallelogram has vertices at these coordinates, 2, 4, 5, 2, and 1, -4. So find all the possible coordinates of its fourth vertex. So this one is a little bit tricky because there's multiple answers and you need to find all of them. So think about what makes a parallelogram a parallelogram. Do you guys need more time or do you want a hint? Okay, I can give you guys a hint. So to find all the possible coordinates of its fourth vertex, think about between which 2 points would be the side lengths. So let's just say there's a side here, right? Then if there's a side here, then that means, remember, parallelograms have 2 pairs of congruent parallel sides. So that means that this side here would need to have another side over here somewhere. And this side here would need to have like another parallel side over here. So if you look at the differences in how much in the distances between the points. So this, to go from this point to this point, you need to go up 2 and left 3. So this point, you need to go up 2 and left 3 to get to this point here. and that would be one of your possible points. So now if we think of another, if we choose some other sideline, so let's say this is one side of the parallelogram, and let's say this side is also a side of the parallelogram. Then to get from this point to this point, we go 1, 2, 3 right and 1, 2 down. So that means in order to find the fourth vertex, which is somewhere down here, we would have to go 1, 2, 3 to the right and 1, 2 down. So this would be our another possible vertex, and this is what the parallelogram would look like. And there's actually one more possible point that could be the vertex. And for that point, we would say that this is a side length of the parallelogram and this side is a side length. So then that means in order to make this a parallelogram, there would have to be two sides like somewhere like this, right? So to get from this point to this point, we go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. So that means to go from this point to wherever the other point is, somewhere up here, we'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. So that would give us this final point up here, which is 6, 10. So those would actually just be our three possible vertices. There wouldn't be any more. So Advika, Aryan, and Ayan, you guys got it. So here's another way to visualize it. So here are the answers again. So here's one parallelogram. Here's the other parallelogram. And here's the other one up here. So it's interesting to see how these points are kind of in a line, because like these three are sort of in a line, these three are sort of in a line, and these three are sort of in a line. Okay, are there any questions? Okay. Ishani, you can go.
Okay, so we'll be talking about functions now. So okay, so we'll be talking about functions. So oh, next slide. Okay, yeah. So it's basically saying that for inputs you have outputs, right? So magic machine. However, a function is a special kind of magic machine. So a function only gives one output per input. If there are two outputs for the same input, then it isn't a function. So remember that like this doesn't necessarily mean that like you can't have multiple inputs that have the same output. It just means that multiple outputs cannot go with the same input. So we will be seeing so just to like figure out just to like clarify this. So is this a function? The name of a person is inputted and their age is outputted. Okay, I saw 2 yeahs in the chat, and then no. Okay, it's the same person. I'm gonna assume it's 2 yeahs in the chat. Okay, assume that nobody has the same name. Because, like, obviously there are people with the same name, but pretend like there aren't. Assume that everybody who has the same name as someone else has, like, a number put after their name. You know? So, like, if someone's name was John Smith, then the second John Smith would be John Smith 1 or John Smith 2 or something like that, right? It's assuming that, like, they don't have the same. Okay, anyways. The answer is yes. Okay, each person has one age, and it's okay that multiple people have the same age, right? So an example of a function in the coordinate plane would be f of x. So a function of x is equal to 5x plus 9. So from each input, so if we plugged in a value for x, we can always say that it will only have one output, right? If we plugged in, like, say, 7, okay, we'd get 7 times 5, which is 35 plus 9, right? That's equal to 44. 44 has only one value, and that's 44. So that means that it'll only have one output per input, so the function. So yeah. So let's try it. So if I give X cookies to a ghost, and then the ghost gives me twice as many cookies as I gave it, and then it later gave me 4 more cookies, then create a function that models the original number of a number of cookies I'll have now, given X, which is the number of cookies I gave the ghost.
Maybe the ghost is Cookie Monster.
But would Cookie Monster give you any cookies?
Well, it's Cookie Monster's ghost, so he can't eat cookies anymore, right?
Oh,
Ghosts
but
can't actually eat food. So now he's become generous and he's giving out cookies to people.
if I were the Cookie Monster, it's ghost, I'd just, like, hoard them, like, put them in a treasure chest, Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I am saying, okay, it doesn't matter which form you put it in, so long as you put it in a form that is correct. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of answers in the chat. So, let's just go over it. So, we have x, right? So we can say f of x, right? And then that is equal to, and then we know that it gives you twice as many cookies as you give it, right? So that means 2x, right? Because we're multiplying that input by 2. However, we're also adding 4 afterwards. So that means you get 2 times x plus 4, which means that the answer is f of x, or y is equal to 2 times x plus 4, or 2x plus 4, right? Also, just a random thing to note, but, like, it can be any letter and then parentheses and then the variable that is being inputted, right? So it can be f of u, it can be g of a, it can be like alpha of beta or something, right? It would still be a function so long as the number in the parentheses is the input. Okay, so, like, you can't have f of u is equal to 2x plus 4 because u isn't inputted anywhere there, right? So yeah. Okay, inverse function. So what if I reverse my function machine? So I get the I get the input given the output. So if I put 5 candies into the machine and it gives me 9, right? Then you would, using an inverse function, you would find that if it gave you 9 cookies or candies, you would get 5 in return. So it basically gives you what the input would be. When you find the inverse function, it gives you what the input would be if you input and output. So I think I just worded that weirdly. But anyway, okay. So to find the inverse function, so you replace the f of x or the g of a or whatever it is, right, with y, and then you solve for x, right? So for example, we can take a random function, okay, 3x plus 4, right, or 3x minus 4, okay. So then is equal to f of x, or f of x is equal to 3x minus 4 becomes y is equal to 3x minus 4. So now what it means by solve for x is you isolate x on one side. So to do this, first let's add 4 to both sides. So we get y plus 4 is equal to 3x, because if you add 4 to minus 4, then you get 0, right? And then now you divide both sides by 3, and you get y plus 4 over 3 is equal to x, because 3 divided by 3 is equal to 1, right? So you get y plus 4 over 3 is equal to x. However, to find an inverse function, you now have to switch the x and the y. So what you would do is you would place x in the y's position and y in the x's position, and you'd get x plus 4 over 3 is equal to y. So that would be the inverse function for y is equal to 3x minus 4. So yeah. Okay, so are there any questions on that? If not, we can do a couple of practice problems, right? Okay, write the inverse function of f of x is equal to 1/3 x plus 9, right? And also, just a thing to note, if you're giving the inverse function, right, in normal notation, it'll put like, so for example, if the function was g of a, right, it would be g, and then it would look like to the power of -1 of a, right, is what it would do, right? Yeah, so that would be it. Or if it were f of x, then it would do f to the power of -1, even though that isn't really saying the power of -1, right, of x, right? So that's just the notation you'll usually be given. You won't usually be told the inverse of function x is, you know, blah, blah, blah. It'll just give it in like mathematical notation, and that is the notation.
Yeah, so don't get confused. It does not mean raised to the -1 power.
Right. So remember, there are two steps. You isolate the x, and then you switch the x and the y, right? And if the input variable is a, and then the output variable is x, or something like that, you would isolate the a, right? You isolate the input variable, right? Because you can type the -1, like to the power of -1 in the chat. It's fine if you don't put it here, right? However, like, don't put f of x is equal to blah blah blah, because that like implies that like it's that same function when it isn't. Just put like y is equal to blah blah blah, right? You know, and yeah. Okay, so I only see 2 answers in the chat, so I'm assuming you all are doing it. But if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them now, because you'll be confused later on if like you do not ask questions about things you have questions on now.
Could you explain inverse function a bit again? I'm kind of having hard trouble understanding it.
Okay. Okay. So let's. So I'll just random function. So say f of x is equal to 1/4 x minus 7. Okay. So right? So we would replace the f of x with y, right? Because we don't want to be working with something that is too clunky, right? So we just want y is equal to 1/4 x minus 7. Now we have to isolate the input variable, and the input variable is x, right? So we add 7 to both sides to isolate that x, and we get y plus 7 is 1/4 x, right? Then we have to multiply both sides by 4, so we can just get x on one side, because the point of this is to isolate the x, right? To isolate the input variable. So we get 4x plus 28 is equal to x, right? Yeah.
Or wait, for y.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Yeah, 4y plus 28 is equal to x.
And
Right.
notice that the x is all by itself. So we just want to make x its own little thing on one side.
Right. Just like think it's social distancing, and it's like, no, you know? Yeah. Right. So now what we have to do is we have to replace the x with the y and the y with the x, right? We have to switch the input variable with the output variable and the output variable with the input variable. So now to get the inverse function, we get 4x plus 28 is equal to y, right? And the reason we do this is because it's like, it's if you took a function and then you like would it be you like what's it called, reflected it across like a line so that it would give the output for the inputs, right? So it would be reflected across the x is equal to y line, right? So it would just be like saying that the it would basically be flipping the input and the output, because that is what we are doing essentially, because we're finding the inverse.
So if you originally put 5 into a function and got 9, this new function, if you put 9 in, then you would get 5. So it flips.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, should we go over this question?
Yeah. Okay. Write the inverse function of f of x is equal to 1/3 x plus 9. So now we have to replace the f of x with y, or an output variable. So we get y is equal to 1/3 x plus 9, right? And now we want to isolate the x. Remember, the point of this is to isolate the x, and then we have to switch the x and the y. So we subtract 9 from both sides to isolate, get x as 1/3 x, right? So we get y minus 9 is 1/3 x. And then we multiply by 3, and we get 3y minus 27 is equal to y, or is equal to x, right? So now we have to switch around the input and output variables, which are x and y. So we get 3x minus 27 is equal to y, right? So that is the inverse function of f of x. However, in actual notation, it would be f and then -1. X is equal to 3x minus 27. So, yeah. Okay, so hopefully you all understood that. If you didn't, please ask any questions now. Otherwise, we will be doing another practice problem. Okay. Okay, let f of x equal x plus 2 and g of x equal x over 3. Also denote the inverses of these functions as f to the power of -1 and g to the power of -1. Compute f of g of -1 of f of -1, f of inverse of g of inverse of f of g of f of 19. So what you would do is you'd start from the middle, right, and you go outwards. Think of it as like
Don't focus on this.
explosion. You know, yeah, just okay. So first you want to figure out what's on the inside, so then you can plug that into the function that's right outside, right? You know?
First, just find f of 19.
19. Yeah. And then when you solve that, look at
Put this in the chat.
yeah.
What f of 19 is.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can do f of 19, right?
Remember, you're given f. It's not the f that we said is equal to 1/3 x plus 9, but it's that. Okay, okay, yeah.
Okay, so we got f of 19 equals 21, right? It's 21. I hope you guys
Yes.
can add. Okay. Now we're going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see a little bit more of this mess. So now, what is g of f of 19? Well, we already know what f of 19 is, right? It's 21. So what's g of 21?
Seven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so g of 21 is 7. So now we can go a little bit outside of that. So we go to the next thing. So inverse of f, you plug in 7, right? So that would basically be the same as plugging in 7 for the output and trying to find the input, right? So you could either find the actual inverse function, or you could just plug in 7 for y, or you could plug in 7 for f of x, and then find what x is, right? Either way works because you're essentially doing the same thing. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, so it is 5. So, inverse of f of 7 is 5, right? So now we do a little bit more, and we see that we have to do another inverse of f. So we have to do inverse of f of 5, right?
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then we get 5 is equal to x plus 2, right? So that would just be 3. Yeah. And then the rest of this, you're almost close to the end, right? So you have to do the inverse of g of 3, right? So you could plug in 3 for g of x, and you would get 3 is equal to x over 3, so x is 9. And then you would just plug that in for the final thing, which is f. So f of 9 is equal to 11. So yes, the answer is 11. Okay, so good job to the people who got it. I don't think we actually expected you to get any. I'd like to get this part, to get this question, right? Like immediately. So good job
Yeah.
to everybody who answered it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so next problem. Evaluate inverse of f of 3 if f of x is 1/9 x plus 6.
For this one, think about what this means.
Right. So you could either use logic, or because this is just like a linear, right? So you only have like the x is not raised to any power, right? So it would be relatively easy to do it without logic. However, it would be quicker to do it with logic. Okay, so I'm saying a couple of answers. Okay. So, remember, so you can either plug in f of 3. So f of 3 would be 6 and 1/3, and then you'd plug that into inverse of f. So you'd get so you'd actually find what the inverse of f of 6 1/3 is, right? And that is 3. Or we could use logic. So remember, f of 3 is what value does this function f of x output when it's given 3 as an input. And then f inverse of x, or f inverse of whatever, is what value is inputted when we're given this output. So that means we're saying what value is inputted when we're given this output that is given. Okay, I'm complicating things, but basically it's saying you input some value x, and then you get some x, like that x is somehow changed to become that, like, next value, except then you're getting x, right? You're getting x back again because you're finding what the input is, right? So yeah.
Since you're taking the output of the same function and putting it into the function that gives you the input of the output, they don't just give you 3 back.
Right.
So basically, if you plug in the output of a function into its input, then you'll get the original value, which is 3. So in fact, you didn't really need to do a bunch of solving and crazy stuff. Yay. Okay, our third part of today is linear equations. So wait, how many of you guys have learned about linear equations already at school or something? Okay, it looks like some of you guys have learned it already. So that means you guys should already have some background about it. So this first type of, there's a couple ways you can write linear equations. Linear equations are just a way you graph a line, and linear equations are also functions too. So this first form of a linear equation is called slope-intercept form because it tells you the slope, which is represented by this constant m, and the y-intercept, in other words, the place where it intersects the y-axis. So that's represented by this constant b, and that's the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. The other helpful form is called point-slope form. It looks more complicated, but it's pretty useful. Basically, this one is good to use when you have a point on the line, like you have a point on the line and you know the slope. So for this case, the point on the line would be x1, comma, y1, and then the slope would be m, and then you would just plug those values into these, and that gives you the equation. And if you have the same line, these two equations will be the same. It'll just be in a different form. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. All right, so this is what linear equations, dang, I said it. When linear equations are graphed, they look like this, which you guys may recognize as lines. So there's a couple of things of lines that are important. So the first thing is slope. So I think you guys may already know this since you guys already learned this in class. Slope is how steep a line is, and you calculate it by divide the change in the y value by the change in x. So basically, you choose 2 points on a line. It doesn't really matter which points you choose because it'll give you the same values either way. Then the change in y here would be 1, 2, 3. And then the change in x would be 1, 2, 3. So then you divide them, and that gives you the slope of 1. And it's the same regardless of which points you choose on the line. So if you chose this point and this point, it'd still be the same because the y change is 1 and the x change is 1. So the slope is still 1, no matter which points you choose. And the intercepts are where the line crosses an axis. So where it crosses the x-axis is known as the x-intercept, and where it crosses the y-axis is known as the y-intercept. Really fancy names. And when it crosses the x-intercept, the y value is always 0, right? Because the x-axis is where y is 0. So to solve for the x-intercept, you just find the point where the y-coordinate is 0. And you do the opposite for the y-intercept. For the y-intercept, the x-coordinate is 0 because the y-axis is at the 0 of the x-axis. So to find the y-intercept, you find the coordinate where the x value is 0. And also in the point slope form, or not point slope form, what's it called? Slope-Intercept Form? Slope-Intercept Form, something like that. I forgot the name. Y equals mx plus b.
Yeah, that's
This
slope-intercept.
Okay, I just kind of forgot. Where in the equation where it's y equals mx plus b, this b value is the y-intercept. So if it's in this form, you don't even need to solve for it. You just take the b. Okay, so let's do some practice. Find the slope and the y-intercept of the purple line and the green line. Okay. Do you guys want more time? Okay, if not, then I will go over it. Okay, so for the purple line, to find the slope, let's choose some easy points because we don't want to choose some point like this where it's like you can't tell where what its coordinates are. So we need to choose some easy points. So let's choose this point here because it evenly crosses the y-axis. And let's choose this point here because it has whole number coordinates. So we're going to use this point here and this point here. So the coordinates of this point here, and we're using these points to find the slope. And the coordinates of this point here are -4, -1, because this here is -1. And the coordinates of this point are 0, -2. So the change in the y, let's go from this lower point to this point. So the change in y would be 1 because we're going from -2 to -1. So we're going 1. And then to go from the change in x, would be 1, 2, 3, 4. But actually, this would be -4 because we're moving in the left direction. So this would be a change of x of -4 and a y change of 1. So the slope of this purple line would be -1/4. And the y-intercept, we kind of already just found. The y-intercept would be -2. So that's for the purple line. For the green line, again, let's choose some easy points. So let's choose this point here and this point here to calculate the slope. So the change in x between these points would be +1, +2, and +3. So the change in x would be 3, and the change in y would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So therefore, the slope, again, is change in y divided by change in x. So the slope would be 6 divided by 3, which is 2. And the y-intercept is right here. That is 0, 6, so the y-intercept is 6. Any questions? Okay.
Okay, someone. Oh. Okay.
Question. Wait, Ishani, do you want to do these, or do you want to just do the last one?
The last one.
Okay. So basically, you don't need to do that or that. Okay. Whoops, that's not right. Katie drives at a rate of 40 miles an hour. If she has driven 90 miles 2 hours into her trip, how many total miles will she have driven 7 hours into her trip? Okay, I'm going to go over this question now. So for the 2 miles into her trip, so at 2 hours, Katie has driven 90 miles. So for the remaining 5 hours of her trip, because we're looking for 70 miles, for each of those 5 hours, she'll drive 40 miles, which means that for those, so that means during those 5 hours, she will have driven a total of 40 times 5 equals 200 miles. So adding these up, we get that in 7 hours, she has driven 290 miles in her trip. Okay. All right. Ishani, do you want to do this?
Yeah. Okay. So parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, wait. Okay. So parallel means that they do not that two lines do not have any intersection with each other. It also means that they have the same slope. If they are in different planes, they could technically never intersect. However, they wouldn't be parallel. For example, like if you had a line going this way and a line going this way, technically they never meet if they're in a 3D space, right? They would be called skew. However, we usually talk about 2D spaces. So in a 2D space, if two lines never meet each other, then they are parallel. And remember, line means they extend on forever and ever. If you have like a line segment that doesn't intersect, if you extend it on forever and ever and it does intersect another line, then those two lines are not parallel. Yeah. Okay. And then perpendicular lines. Okay, yeah. For example, two parallel lines in the coordinate plane would be y is equal to 1/2 x and y is equal to 1/2 x minus, right? So they would have the same slope and then different intercepts. If they have the same intercept, that would mean that they're the same line. And it's like saying, I am my own twin. Like, if you want to say twin means someone who's identical, then yes, but like, I'm not my own twin, right? You know? So similar, right? And then perpendicular lines, that means that two lines intersect at a 90-degree angle, right? So two lines cannot be parallel and perpendicular. That just doesn't happen because perpendicular and parallel are like the exact opposite, basically, right? So if you think about perpendicular lines, think about like any like four-way intersection that you have seen, or those are perpendicular. Or think about like the coordinate plane. The x and y axes are perpendicular, right? So yeah. And that is parallel and perpendicular lines.
The perpendicular slope thingy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the perpendicular slope. So if we're given, like, for example, if we're given y is equal to 1/2 x plus 5, then the opposite reciprocal of 1/2 would be the slope of the of any line that is perpendicular to y equals 1/2 x, right? So opposite reciprocal means you change the sign. So from 1/2 you get negative 1/2, and then you would multiply. You would find the reciprocal, which is basically you switch the numerator and denominator. So you get from 1/2, you get negative 1/2, and that becomes, after that, you get negative 2/1, which is just negative 2. So the slope of the perpendicular line would be negative 2. So it would be opposite reciprocal. And yeah, Amy, do you want to do the problems on slide 25 or?
Yeah, I can do the problems. Wait, but I want to do a little bit more practice with the opposite reciprocal thing because do you want to just go fast so you can catch the Kahoot?
Yeah, go fast.
Okay, we'll just go fast then. Okay.
We could do like half of them,
Or we could just go fast. First one,
Okay.
is it parallel, perpendicular, or intersecting? Put your answer in the chat fast so we can get to the Kahoot. And by the way, if they're intersecting, it just means they aren't parallel or perpendicular. Because if they, well, actually, perpendicular technically is intersecting.
In this scenario, we don't care.
Okay. Neither. Okay, so the first one is neither, it's not parallel because they don't have the same slope, and they aren't perpendicular because if they were perpendicular, then the slopes would have to be opposite reciprocals of each other, which they're not. So this is neither. Okay, second one, parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Yes, it's perpendicular. And it's perpendicular because the slopes are opposite reciprocal. So if we look at 4, the opposite of 4 is just the negative version, so negative 4. And the reciprocal is 1/4, but negative. So that's what this slope happens to be, so which means that they are perpendicular. Okay, third one. Is this parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Okay, this one is parallel because if you move the y, if you isolate the y, then the first one becomes y equals 3x minus 9, and the second one becomes y equals 3x plus 7. And since they have the same slope, then that means they are parallel. And the final one, are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Well, Okay, I love this last one. Here's a coordinate plane. X equals 9 means that, like, this is 9. Pretend this is 9. It's this one, right? This line. Y equals -4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is this one. Is this parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Yes, this is actually perpendicular. It's a little bit confusing because this line kind of just doesn't have any just doesn't really have a slope, but it's perpendicular. Okay, I guess we're going. Whoa, sorry. Okay, we're doing the Kahoot now. All right, I'm going to share the Kahoot screen in a moment. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Oh my gosh, you should hear the music. Okay, the code is this. I'm going to spam this a couple times. Wait, can you guys hear the music or no?
We can.
Okay, well, I'm going to see if... Okay.
When you share it, it should allow you to share audio also.
Yeah.
Right?
Can you hear it now?
Yes.
Isn't the music just great?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, who's named as my brother? Okay, I'm gonna start now. If you want to join, you better join fast. Parallel and perpendicular lines by Mathema. What? Why is that not going away? Parallel, perpendicular, neither y equals 3x plus 4 and y equals 3x minus 5. Oops. This is a letter H.
The split screen to work and it says Tootsie Rolls.
Oh, yay. Okay, yes, it is parallel because they have the same slope, 3x, and, well, they have the same slope, 3.
Imagine putting neither.
Okay. Number 2, parallel, perpendicular, neither. Y equals 3x plus 1, and y equals -4/3 x plus 7. Oh my gosh, that was fast. At first I thought this was on someone's pants. Okay, perpendicular. Oh gosh, I almost clicked the wrong button, sorry. Parallel, perpendicular, and neither. Y equals 2x plus 14 and y equals 1/2 x minus 12.
It's a 5-question Kahoot.
Okay, so this is neither because 2 and 1/2 are reciprocals, but they're not opposite reciprocals. So if it was like -1/2, then they would be perpendicular. Okay, parallel, perpendicular, neither. Y equals x plus 5 and y equals x minus 2. Okay, so this is parallel because they have the same slope of 1, even though it's an invisible.
I've gotten the exact same amount of points 3 times in a row.
Wow.
But I think it's just first and second that are just battling it out, but everyone else is just standing.
I mean, it's really close though. It's like this one's like 14 points. This is like 4 points. This is like 16 points. Parallel, perpendicular, neither.
I I mean, like, we know where the answers are. It's not like you change them. Like, you just
But
spam.
I'm scared that that you change it one time and then I get it wrong.
I just spammed it.
Okay, in third place we have I as SpongeBob. In second place we have Winner AR. And in first place we have Orange. Good job. And in fourth place we have Halloween, and in fifth place we have Anand. So, wait. Let me write those down. We have a second Kahoot, by the way. We're not done. Who is I as SpongeBob? Okay. Oh, by the way, I didn't play this game because I'm hosting. Okay. Second Kahoot. Where is the second Kahoot? Okay. Play as guest. Continue as guest.
You have a code.
What? I'm sharing. Okay, there we go. Second Kahoot of the day. Okay, I'm gonna spam the code in the chat. Oh, wow.
There's 7 of us, like last time.
Did someone give up? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna start. If you want to join, you can join. Linear functions, Mathema. Yay. Okay, what is the formula for slope?
We can't see it.
Oh, you can't. Can you see it now? Okay, I assume you can.
Yes.
Okay, so... Oh yeah, both of those are right. Okay, that's good. Because it's just the difference in the y-coordinates divided by the difference in the x-coordinates. So you can find the difference between the first and second coordinates, or you can find the difference between the second and first coordinates. You just have to make sure you kind of line them up. So if you subtract the second coordinate of the y, then you need to subtract the second x-coordinate. You can't like flip them around. And yeah. Okay. Number 2. Is this function linear or non-linear? Linear means it's a line.
Can a line have bends in it? It's a bended line.
As in like the math line? Math lines can't have bends in it, unfortunately. This is an absolute value function, which is kind of weird. Think of it as like it's like a line, but it hits something and bounces off. Absolute value functions are not linear because absolute value functions are weird. They're like y equals absolute value of x or something. And those are not linear. Linear literally just means it's a straight line. It has no bends, no curves, no pointy thingies.
It's a blue.
Okay. Wow, Halloween's on the front. Next is I as SpongeGar, and then Winner AR.
Good job.
Okay, which equation is correct for the following graph? Oh, oof, it has a transparent
It's
background.
impossible to see.
Oh, okay, well I can tell you the y-intercept is 3 and the x-intercept is negative 1 1/2, I think.
I don't even know. I guess that.
Oh, well, most of you still got it right. It was a little hard to see. Okay, yeah, that is hard to see. So if you can, okay, I will zoom in a little bit. Control plus 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 plus. Okay, so this it intersects the y-axis here, and then it also intersects this point here. So it goes up by 2 and right by 1. So this would have a slope of 2. And that's actually all you need because there's only one answer with a slope of 2. So there's your answer. Okay, what is the slope of this graph? Hopefully you can see it.
It's green.
Oh, you kind of can see it.
It's like too off there. That's like obvious though.
I think it's okay. So the slope of this graph would be -1/2. It intersects at here and here, so therefore it rises by 1 and moves left by 2. So rise over run. 1 over -2 is
Even if you guess, you had a 50% chance since it has to be negative.
yeah.
There's dots on your screen.
Yeah. There, they're gone now. Is this data?
There is no.
There's data. This is a chart with data.
Okay, it showed us like 2 hours ago.
2 hours?
What you did, but the volume just went like 3 times louder.
Oh, I mean, I don't know what happened. This would be a function because it has each input has one output, so there's no like repeated ones.
How many cahoots do we have? 3.
Today we have 2 cahoots.
2.
What is the rule for the following table? In other words, what's the equation?
It's blue. The fact. 3 plus 8 is 11.
3 plus 8 is equal to 11.
Yeah, so yeah, it would be blue. Or it could be green. 4 times 4.
Okay, for this, you don't actually need to worry about the y-intercept because all the slopes are different. So as long as you find the slope, then you're good to go, and you'll know which answer is the right answer. So we can just choose 2 points. It doesn't matter which 2. So let's just choose these 2. So the change in y as we go from 1 point is 6. So plus 6. Oops, you can't see that. 6. And the change in x is plus 2. So this means that, so if we calculate the slope, which is change in y divided by change in x, that gives us a slope of 3. And that's all we need. We don't care about the y-intercept in this case because only one answer has a slope of 3, and that's yellow. Okay, identify the equation that fits this table of data. Okay, so
I'm on the podium somehow.
for this question, we again look at the change in y, which is positive 3, and then we look at the change in x here, which is positive 3. So change in y divided by change in x is 1 in this case. So we know the slope is 1 now, and since none of these are 1, we just know the blue is the answer. Oh wow, Halloween's in first place. Michael Chen is in second place. Aryan's World is in third place. Sponge Car is in fourth, and Bob is in fifth. It looks like Bob detached from Sponge. Find the slope, y-intercept, and rest of this coordinate.
That was just
Okay.
So find this y-intercept.
Yeah, if you find the y-intercept, then yeah, the answer would be just easy because there's only one answer that matches. The slope would be 2 because its rise is 2 units and run, or what the change in y is 2 units and the change in x is 1. So the slope would be 2. I guess you could just extrapolate to over here. So any of those would have worked. But yeah, if you had just gone to the y-intercept, you would have known the answer right away. Okay, here's the podium. In third place, we have SpongeGar. And in second place, we have Halloween. And in first place, we have Michael J. Wait, who is... Oh, and in fourth place, we have Arian. Wait, who is SpongeGar?
Oh, this time Bob is me, Anand.
Who is Michael and who's... Okay, SpongeGar is... Who is Michael Chen? Okay, wait. Who's Arian? Arian is Michael Chen, but there was like Arian's World. Who's that? Why are there 2 Arians? There's an Aryan Shah, and then there's just a regular Aryan. Aryan Shah guest, and then there's Aryan guest. One of them is Aryan. I'll just give you both like 1 point.
Wait, no, wait, hold up. I think I'm trying to figure them out.
I'll give you both 1 point, which is a lower point.
Okay, I'm pretty sure Aryan Shah is the real one, but I'm not sure.
But then who is... Because the main
The
thing...
fake one is Charles. Charles is the fake one.
Oh, no, yeah, no,
He was
Aryan Shah,
spamming his name.
Aryan Shah is real.
Yeah, okay,
Right.
if Aryan Shah is real, then who's Michael Chen? Because both of them are claiming. Okay, Aryan Shah is Aryan's World, and Charles is Michael Chen. Okay. Got it. Wait, but then Aryan's World from last time was the real Aryan, right?
Yeah, that was me this time too.
Okay, I got it now. All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.